Women's World Cup in action right now. We bring you our version of the World Cup. It's Marble Soccer. Hello, welcome to MSPN's coverage of Marble Fubeca. I'm Rick O'Shea, glad to have you here for our Marble Soccer tournament. There is the beautiful cup that these teams will be competing for. 16 teams. There are many representatives of those teams, and some of the countries that aren't even being represented here today in this competition. And a look at our field for today's competition. Indonesia against France, and the Netherlands against Brazil in the bottom left quadrant. Top left is Argentina, Russia, Vietnam, and the Korean Republic. On the right side, it's the Philippines, Mexico, Colombia, and India. And then Malaysia, Portugal, and it's Canada against the United States in round number 1. But first we start in the bottom left of our bracket, and our first matchup today will be Indonesia against France. To the starting gates, and it is 4 marbles that will go for each of our teams. France in the dark blue, Indonesia in the clean white, and they are off, and the scoreboard shows 2-1 Indonesia. They will take out France. Here's a look at the replay. On the right side, you see France's first goal. There was Indonesia. And there's the winner on the left side of the screen, just sneaking in. And Indonesia will move on, beating France 2-1. The top right of the screen, and it is, or top right of the bracket, it's the United States against Canada. This is a big-time matchup. Canada on the left side in the mostly clear. USA in the silver. The United States has one. Here comes Canada. They're not going to get anything. And the U.S. lands one in the right goal, and that's enough to win it. Right there is the winner. And it looked for a moment as though a couple of the Canadian marbles were going to have a chance to roll their way in. They cannot, and the USA advances to the quarterfinals. Next up is Vietnam against the Korean Republic. There's Korea, there is Vietnam. Vietnam had a lot of success in their last tournament that they participated in. They're in the yellow. And they scored at least one there. Here comes another one. They will score again. And Vietnam with a 2-0 win over Korea. Put one in at the end there for some good measure. Right at the beginning they score one, and then at the end. Wasn't the same marble. It almost looked for a second as though it was the same marble that scored twice. It wasn't, but it is 2 marbles for Vietnam that find their way into the goals and win this one by a final of 2-0. Mexico against the Philippines now. Mexico again in the green and black, and the Philippines white, blue, red. Matchups. Oh, that's at least 2 for Mexico. The Philippines won't do anything, and Mexico scores 2 right off the bat in the right corner, and are able to win this one by a final of 2-0. There's 1, there's 2, and that's all they need. One held it in the basket, the other one came back out of the goal to try to score another, but it's 2-0 again, and that is 3 consecutive rounds now that we've seen one of the teams being held scoreless. The U.S. won 1-0, Vietnam won 2-0, and there Mexico 2-0. This matchup is the Netherlands and Brazil. Very colorful and unique marbles here. That may have been a couple for Brazil. It's 3-1 as the Netherlands pick up 1. I'll tell you what, that 1 marble for the Netherlands trying to score again. That was the one that did score for the Netherlands, and 1-2. And then on the left side, you saw Brazil put in 1 extra one. And then the Netherlands score their 1 marble. It's a 3-1 win, and Brazil is moving on. They will face Indonesia in the second round. Back to the right side, and it's Malaysia in the yellow and black. Maybe it's brown, hard to tell there. They'll take on Portugal in the green. They are off, and Malaysia scores a couple. Portugal puts in only 1, and Malaysia is going to move on to take on the United States. 1 on each side for Malaysia. Made contact right in the middle of the field there and split off one way and the other, and they both go in. So a good run there for Malaysia. They're going to take on the U.S. And now it's Russia against Argentina, and the winner gets Vietnam. Argentina in the white and light blue. Almost solid red for Russia. And they will be denied. Oh, at the last moment. Nope, that marble is not going to go. Right on the line, it does not cross. And Russia is eliminated by a 1-0 score. There's the one score off the post and in for Argentina. And at the very end, Russia unable to get that last marble to just roll a little bit further. About 50-50, but it's got to go in. It did not, and Russia is eliminated. Argentina is moving on. That is an absolute killer. And now the final first round matchup is India against Colombia. Colombia in their classic yellow, blue, and red. Oh, somebody fell off the entire course. Here comes India at the last moment to score and win. Yeah, look at that. It looks like it was, one of the Indian marbles didn't even make it onto the course properly. Fell off the ramp there. And at the last second, rolling in, and none of the Colombian marbles were there to try to make a block. And so, unimpeded, India goes in for the score and the 1-0 win. And the first round is complete. And now we play for a spot in the semifinals. First matchup is Indonesia against Brazil. Brazil put in 3, which was the most we've seen in the first round. They take on the first game winner, and that's Indonesia, who has 1. Indonesia now has 2, and Brazil doesn't pick up any. How about that? Indonesia with a bit of an upset. They win this one by a final of 2-0. And they've outscored their opponents 4-1 now through their first 2 rounds as they head to the semifinals. And they are now guaranteed a spot, at least in a competition to get onto the podium for Indonesia, who doesn't always participate. Here's one team that always does participate, the United States, as they take on Malaysia. 3 entire rows of supporters for both of these countries. Yellow and black against silver and white. They are off. And the United States has a couple. Malaysia put in 1, but it's 3 for the United States, and the USA is moving on. The left side put in 2 for the US, and the right side had 1 for each, so it's the left side scoring only US goals that ends up costing Malaysia their chance. And the United States is on to the semifinals, and now Argentina takes on Vietnam. Vietnam in the red and yellow. They've got 1, and it looks like that might be all we get. Everybody else is towards the center of the field. It is, and Vietnam wins it by a final of 1-0. They are on to the semifinals in a low-scoring affair, and they're going to get, it's going to be Indonesia against Vietnam in one of the semifinals. The United States waits for the winner of India and Mexico. India winning with that last-second goal. Mexico looks pretty confident in their win. Did Mexico score? I don't know if we had a score there. Yep, we did get one. As the scoreboard shows Mexico 1. Yeah, there it is. It came out very quickly, but it did go in at the very beginning. Mexico is moving on as they shut out India 1-0. Into the semifinals now. 2 powerhouses, the United States and Mexico. 2 underdogs, Indonesia and Vietnam. We begin with the underdogs. Indonesia had a nice run there last time. And they're going to do it again. They're going to get another one to fall in. The last one at the end for an exclamation mark couldn't quite go, but 2-1, Indonesia is into the final. Once again, the inability to block becomes very important, as that one Vietnam marble unable to block the other Indonesian, and Indonesia nearly put in a third one just for good measure. 2-1 ends up as the final. And now we get the United States against Mexico. And they are off. Mexico's got a couple. The U.S. is in trouble. They're not going to score any. 2-0. Mexico is into the finals. As the U.S. is unable to score. And now we will see Vietnam against the United States for third place. Disappointing finish for the U.S., who looked pretty easy, pretty confident going through those first 2 rounds, but now they're going to have to battle with Vietnam for a spot on the podium. The United States have 2, maybe 3. They do give them that third one. Vietnam scored only 1, and 3-1 is the final. The U.S. takes third place. They get on the podium. And now the sights are turned towards Mexico and Indonesia. Mexico has had a lot of success in these tournaments, getting deep into the tournament runs. They've won a couple of tournaments. They look for another against Indonesia, a huge underdog. But Indonesia has been very impressive. As you see there, 2 rows of supporters, 3 full rows for Mexico. Maybe a little bit of David versus Goliath as they head to the field. Mexico's got a couple. Indonesia scored only 1. Mexico is going to win it 3-1, the final, and the Mexicans again take home the gold. Valiant effort by Indonesia, but they had a couple of marbles that didn't even make contact with anyone else, and when you have a couple of marbles that just run free, makes it a lot harder. Mexico is the winner. Indonesia gets the runner-up spot, and third place to the United States. Impressive run by Indonesia, but it wasn't to be, as Mexico gets the win. They take home a very impressive trophy for this competition. And then the Trojans and flush your top 5, as they were able to take second place in our last event, the slalom race. We again ran a more traditional marble race, but we are back to some of the more interesting events. The teams are ready. The fans are ready. Are you guys ready? This is event number 10 of the 2021 Marble Champions League. This is Collision Soccer. You have our course here. You can see it's a very interesting one, a mix of a couple of different styles here. You've got that rail racing that's going to start out. This is not, by the way, going to be a group event. This is going to be 8 different runs of 1-on-1, which will advance us into the quarterfinals, then we'll go into the semifinals, then down to our finale. This is a round of 16. We'll start with the Savage Jackal and the Archangels. This is a full team event. We've got a couple of goals going on. Looks like it's 3-2, and everybody else is going to hold still. 3-2, the Savage Jackal knock out the Archangels. And the first 2 were the Savage Jackal, or excuse me, were the Archangels. So a great job by the Savage Jackal to put in a couple of scores there at the end, because they were down 2-0 quickly against the Archangels, as you can see there on the replay. But the Savage Jackal into our first quarterfinal. They'll face the winner of this next matchup, which is the Steel Brothers and the Lynx Rufus. And they are off. Down the rail they go. Going to try to get down first. That's going to be your tiebreaker in case of a tie. There's a goal. There's another one for the Steel Brothers. And that's all, I believe. Yep, everybody's going to hold still now. The Lynx Rufus unable to score. Steel Brothers pick up 2, and they advance to take on the Savage Jackal. Not a ton of scoring early in that one. Took a little bit of time before the Steel Brothers were able to score, and obviously we didn't get any scoring whatsoever. On the other end from the Lynx Rufus. First quarterfinal is set, and our next matchup is the Snow Wolves and the Speedy Hunters. There looks like the Snow Wolves have spread out a little bit. You want to stay as close as you can. There's a couple of goals. There's a third. There's a fourth for the Snow Wolves. What a run. The Snow Wolves are going to score everything they can. Only 1 on the board for the Speedy Hunters, and so it's the Snow Wolves coming off of a pretty strong run in the last event, keeping that momentum up. And look how quickly they scored. Yeah, wow. Got a couple of them, and really, they all went down pretty easily and pretty quickly, but 2 of those scores were incredibly fast. The Snow Wolves advance, and they'll take on the winner of the Onyx and the Sphery Spiders in this round of 16. Sphery Spiders, the white, the black of the Onyx, and there's a couple of goals, maybe just 1. Yeah, just 1 so far. There's a second for Onyx. That's going to seal the deal. They're going to pick up a third for good measure. There's 1 at the end for the Sphery Spiders, but 3 on the board for Onyx. They get it done to advance. So far, we haven't had to use that tiebreaker, but you'll see up on the score bug there at the top of the screen, that time that's going to pop up is what time it was that they made it down onto the course, onto the soccer field here. That's going to be your tiebreaker in case we happen to have a couple of teams score the same. Haven't had to use it yet, and in fact, every time so far out of the 4 we've run, the first team down scores the most points. Let's see if that holds up here between Oris 1 and the Trojans. If it does, it bodes well for, I think, the Trojans. Here comes 1 score for Oris 1. There's 1 for the Trojans. A second for Oris 1 is going to get them the win. Pulled it out at the last second there. I think we may have lost one of the... Yep, you can see on that replay, one of the Trojans' marbles came back up and out of the course. So I was going to say, I only saw a couple on the playing surface there and then 1 in the net. So Oris 1 put at an advantage there because they had more marbles on the course. As you'll have like 1 more replay. There it is, right back up and over the fencing there for the Trojans, who continue a not-so-great streak. They're knocked out in the first round here again. And Oris 1 will take on the winner of Swiftblade against the Vikings here. Off they go. Swiftblade looks like they're in the lead early. There's 3 goals for the Vikings. Swiftblade trying to make something happen at the end. They will pick up just the 1. And the Vikings pick up 3. They continue their hot streak. They're advancing into the quarterfinals. And they just became the first team to get to the bottom of the field second, but still advance. A 4.345 on their time to a 4.128 for Swiftblade there. Doesn't matter, they get it done. The Vikings will take on Oris 1 in the quarterfinals. Now it's the Janitors against Flush. How fitting there, this matchup. The Janitors have been successful all season, but they're in some trouble here. 3-1, that's it. It's Flush that will get the win. And a second straight time that the first team down is not going to advance. Have a look at the replay, and just nothing happened there for the Janitors. They just didn't have anything really going. Able, after a little bit of contact, maybe they would have been able to pick up 2 if their 2 marbles on the left side hadn't made contact, but even if that happened, that's not enough to get it done because there were 3 points on the board for Flush. So they're advancing into the quarterfinal, and they will set up our final matchup, which is the winner of this last matchup of the first round. That's Tatu Bola against the Blue Jackets. Blue Jackets coming off of a win, and they have 2-3 points, and that's enough to get it done. Blue Jackets advance, and they will take on Flush. 3-1 the win over Tatu Bola. As we have a look at the replay, there was the one pretty easy for Tatu Bola. Then there is a quick one for the Blue Jackets. There's another one and another one after that. 3-1, they get the win to advance to the quarterfinal. And we'll go back up to the top of the bracket. It's the Savage Jackal against the Steel Brothers. Savage Jackal trying to do everybody a favor and knock out the championship leaders. There's 2 points for the Steel Brothers. Nobody else is going to score, and they will advance into the semifinal. Go the Steel Brothers with a 2-1 win. How close was that? Look at the timing. 4.258 to 4.263. So if they had tied, still would have been the Steel Brothers on what would have been awfully close. Look at the replay there. There's the winner. It goes in for the Steel Brothers with their second point. They nearly added a third, and you can see none of the Savage Jackal marbles really anywhere close. As as we move our way down to our second quarterfinal, the Snow Wolves against Onyx. For the second straight time, white versus black when Onyx is involved. There's a couple of scores for the Snow Wolves. Onyx is going to have to make something happen. There's 3, and it's a 3-0 shutout for the Snow Wolves to advance into the semifinal, where they get the Steel Brothers. And we move forward now with the Vikings against Oris 1. Oris 1 second place. They really need this to keep it going. 1-1. Here's a second for Oris 1. Close off the side of the net there. Made contact in one of the Vikings marbles, but they cannot get it done. And Oris 1 advances to the semifinal. So they're trying to stay step by step along with the Steel Brothers. They have to make up points. They're 14 points now, but you definitely can't be eliminated when you see the other team that you're chasing continuing to go further and further into the tournament. Steel Brothers making it awfully tough on anybody. They continue to have success into the final last time. They're in the semifinals at least here today, which is the equivalent of the final from every other event with the grouping. As the Blue Jackets look for a second straight win, there's 2 points for them, and the Flush aren't going to get it done. The Blue Jackets into the semifinal. Look at the replay here. The Blue Jackets now trying to get on a hot run as the second half of the season is underway. And this is a 16-event season. And our 10th event here. As we make our way to the semifinal, the Steel Brothers and the Snow Wolves. Can anybody knock off the championship leaders? Trying to get it done. There's a goal for the Snow Wolves. There's their second goal. There's their third goal. There's 2 for the Steel Brothers. They cannot get the last one to go. The Snow Wolves advance into the finale. They knock out the Steel Brothers, who still will finish with an impressive run in today's event, but they're unable to get into the finale as 1, 2, 3, about as quick as possible for the Snow Wolves. Just unable to get that third marble to go. For the Steel Brothers, you can see right there is the second one that falls, and then on the left side of the screen you see hovering around that goal, close, made contact with the side post, but unable to score. And so the Snow Wolves advance into the finale. And they'll take on either Oris 1 or the Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets trying to win a second straight event. Oris 1 trying to get to the finale again. They've won 2 events already. They're the only team to win more than 1. There are 2 goals for Oris 1. There's a second for the Blue Jackets. Did we get a... No, there's a third for the Blue Jackets. There's a fourth for the Blue Jackets, and they get it done. Their time was slower than Oris 1, so they needed to score more points. They did, and they advanced to the finale again. What a run in the last couple of weeks by the Blue Jackets. Winning in event number 9. And now trying to do it again. What a great run by them. They'll take on the Snow Wolves in the finale. Oris 1 is going to best out the Steel Brothers just barely, just by 1 spot. Not going to do a lot toward the championship points, but it will at least help them get just a tiny bit closer. But now the finale and everything that we have worked for today comes down to this. The Blue Jackets on the left, the darker blue, the more of a white color with the blue is the Snow Wolves. They are off. The finale is underway. There's a couple of goals there. The Snow Wolves again with 3 more. And that's going to do it. There's a second for the Blue Jackets. They will not score a third. And the Snow Wolves, again with that quick attack, which is exactly what they did in the semifinal. Got it done so quickly in a blink of an eye. You're already having to score 3 or 4, and just barely the Blue Jackets were down first, so they would have only needed 3. They get 2, but could not pick up that final one they needed. They're both close to the goal. Neither would go in, and so it's the Snow Wolves that win this event in our Collision Soccer. Congratulations to them as you have a look at the results for today's event. And it's 3 points that Oris 1 is going to make up on the Steel Brothers. From 3rd to 4th place, they take that bronze medal. Silver, of course, goes to the Blue Jackets. Gold to the Snow Wolves. Steel Brothers 4th, Vikings 5th, Savage Jackal, and Flush and Onyx are 6th, 7th, and 8th, the top half of our bracket from today in this 1 versus 1 matchup. The lead for the Steel Brothers is down to 11 points, 117 to 106, and then another 12 points back to the Snow Wolves, who get their first win. They're in that win column now, as we've got a bunch of winners. Only one multi-time winner in 10 events, but it's an 11-point lead for somebody who hasn't won at all. The Steel Brothers continue to be stopped from getting their first event win, but they continue to hold a double-digit point lead when it comes to the overall standings, which is ultimately what you're going for. Congratulations to Oris 1. They pick up 6 goals over the course of the event, taking a bronze. They're up to 106 points. The Blue Jackets picked up 7 goals en route to a silver. 10 goals for the Blue Jackets, for the Snow Wolves. They deserved it, as they got it done in a pretty impressive fashion with 10 goals, well more than anybody else, and they do it with 3 in a matter of a second, coming down in our finale. So congratulations to them today. They all aspire to be the Snow Wolves as they get it done in event number 10 of the 2021 Marble Champions League. Until next time, I'm Keanu Binderzaki, and you've been watching a presentation of Marble Fubeca.